It is Monday, January 19th, and you are watching the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process. It's Monday, which means we're talking Habs, but we're also talking Laval Rocket, and that's what we'll do today. We're going to touch on their weekend that was not a very successful one. We're going to talk about some of the players of interest within that team and an unfortunate tragedy that happened on Sunday's game, which, I was attending, Saturday's game. I want to say. Afterwards, we're going to talk trades, okay? But more specifically, how should the Habs approach the Olympic roster freeze and the upcoming trade deadline? We're also going to take a look at the Rasmus Andersson deal. He's been in the trade talks for I don't know how long. Finally, he gets moved to the Vegas Golden Knights. We're going to talk about that trade from Calgary's perspective. Did they do well? Afterwards, of course, we're going to get to our mailbag. We have two great questions in the queue, and it all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
That's right, producer Shayne here, joined as always by my counterpart, Simon the Snake Boisvert. Snake, how are we feeling today?
Hey, pretty good. Pretty good. Yourself?
Likewise. Top notch. Been lucky enough to not have gotten sick so far this winter, and I am touching all the wood in my room right now, okay? Because I don't want that to happen, but I've been lucky. So I'll acknowledge that. I know a lot of people have gotten sick. I've been one of the lucky few. So I'm hoping to keep that streak alive. Now,
winter is not over.
Exactly. That's why I'm touching all the wood. Wash my hands. I wash my hands. I try to keep it safe, but yeah, it's been the flu season has been bad, just pretty much everywhere. I think.
The problem is when you shake hands with 10 people and then you scratch your face, and that's how you catch it.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll get back to the hockey now. Starting off with the Laval Rocket, and of course, I think we have to extend our deepest condolences to the Pelletier family for the loss of Michel, who was a longtime Laval Rocket fan. And the team published this on social media following the passing of Michel. Unfortunately, it is with deep sadness that the Laval Rocket has learned the passing of their fan Michel Pelletier, who attended yesterday's game at Place Belle. We would like to offer our most sincere condolences to his family and all of his loved ones. Having been a part of the members community for 7 seasons, he has always been there to encourage us, and the Rocket family is wholeheartedly with his family, and so are we. Just a terrible, terrible thing, Snake. I mean, at the end of the game there, and I was there at the game on the opposite end of the rink, however, but I still got to see, the medical team rushing to Michel's help and doing CPR and trying to get him back. But, unfortunately, it's a situation that we rarely see, and thankfully so. But Saturday was an exception, and we think about the Pelletier family right now. Just horrible stuff. But look, we're gonna talk about the Rocket now. The weekend that was, and it wasn't a good one. 2 losses, one in shootout. The first one on Friday, they lost 2-1 to Manitoba Moose. Now that game, I thought they actually dominated. Like, they were clearly the better team.
Yeah.
However, Thomas Milic said otherwise. He's like, no, I want to win this one, and he did. Credit to him. Now, not a ton to talk about really, but I guess we'll kind of give an overview of the players of interest here. Jacob Fowler's return on Saturday, I thought he was excellent, probably the best player on Laval. Where do you want to start with all of this?
Well, the Rocket is going on a 4-game road trip in Western Canada, which is rare because you usually always play the same teams, Belleville and Syracuse. But they're doing it with what I consider now is pretty much a full roster.
That's true.
Angstrom is back. Fowler is back. And I don't think there's any major injuries.
Bisson is the only one.
Yeah, the only one. Because you still have the Farrell, Dauphin, Belzile line together. Then you have Roy, Beck, Davidson, and Florian, on third line with Condotta and Luke Tuck. I think it's... how can I put this? I think what the Rocket has right now, they don't have what I consider top prospects on the forward side. What they do have is a great veteran line, which is very important on an American Hockey League team. And the rest of the guys, some of them, most of them are what I call, prospects, but they're either B or C or D level prospects, which basically means that they're young. There's still room for development, but time is starting to tick for some of them.
Yeah.
And some of them will have, the Habs will have decisions to make because their entry-level contract will be ending soon. One of them being Joshua Roy.
Yeah.
Because I really think now Belzile and Dauphin, obviously we know they are veteran American hockey players. And I think Sean Farrell is not really a prospect anymore. Okay, he's a very good American Hockey League player, but I think he's like, almost 25. He's 24 right now, going to be 25 in 2026. I think, he's an American, he's an AHLer in my book. Now, a guy like Roy. Roy, I find, is still the same Joshua Roy from the first year that he was playing in Laval. That first year, he was called up to Montreal. He did pretty well during the 20-game span. We thought he was going to have a role on the Habs in year 2. Didn't happen. But since then, I haven't seen progress. I think he's a fine player for the Rocket. But what do you think? I mean, do you think that the Habs are going to offer him an extension? And if they do, that basically they will see him as a Rocket player? Or do you still think that there's hope for him to become a bottom 6 player in Montreal, considering what they have right now?
Mm-hmm. I have a hard time seeing that happen, Snake, because, taken from what I saw in person on Saturday, he had an all right game. Like, he was fine, noticeable, good player. And then when they pull the goalie down 2 goals, he makes just a soft play. I mean, this is like a really rookie move, and he's not a rookie anymore. Right. And he makes a soft play and it turns back, empty net goal, 3-0. Right. So we keep saying that there's some fine tuning needed in his game, but we say that every year, and there is still more fine tuning left to do. That all the talent in the world, this player is incredibly talented. Like, he dominated the Q for years. Yeah. But it's just, he has yet to be able to take that next step. Some players never do. That it happens. It's normal. Okay.
Oh, it's normal.
He's one of those.
Yeah. That's why he was a 5th-round pick.
Yeah. He had his struggles in the queue, and then finally he unlocked.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that's why they're kind of waiting to see if he'll unlock. But I really don't see a utility for this player. It's unfortunate because he's a top 6 caliber talent, right? And he needs to play in a top 6 in order to, get the full potential out of him, but he won't play in a top 6 with the Habs, right? No. So if he's able to carve out a role on the 4th line, then maybe, but I doubt that he will. So again, he's just kind of that tweener that's probably never going to make the jump.
A tweener. Yeah, I think you're right. I had hope at the end of his first season.
He looked good.
When he was called up, I said, maybe third liner. And I think I wasn't the only one who saw this in him. Yeah. But after what I saw last year, I've pretty much given up in terms of, playing in the NHL. Maybe a trade, but even then, like you say, whatever, even if it's a weaker team, I don't see him on a 4th line.
No, he can't be. You're not
So
going
who
to get
knows?
the right player.
Maybe he might go to the KHL or something like that. I mean, there's money to be made in Europe.
Absolutely. There's
money to be made.
Some good Quebecois guys. Max Comtois is there, right?
Yeah.
That's one player. So look, we don't know what's going on in his mind, what his agent thinks he should do, all that. Point is, I think we can both agree that the future in Montreal is, closing in now. It's probably not going to come to fruition. We don't know what the next steps are going to be, but right now, I mean, has he done enough to earn a call up even? Like, I don't think so.
No.
There's players on the Rocket.
Well, he had a call up this year, I think, but
he had one and then didn't do anything. So it's unfortunate to see, because again, all the talent in the world, you'd think this player could put it together.
Well, he was a top player in midget hockey many years ago, maybe 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And one concern among scouts, and I'm talking Q scouts, not NHL scouts at the time, Q scouts, was the fact that his effort level, his compete level was not consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't have to, because in midget hockey he was so much more talented than every other guy that basically, it wasn't a concern. But in the Q, it was tough the first couple of years for him. There were, other circumstances. But then in Sherbrooke, once he became a little bit older than the average player in the league, then he became a star.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Maybe he'll become a star in Laval, if you know what I mean. Like Dauphin is right now.
Yeah. Or
maybe he's the next Dauphin. We'll see. But it'll be up to him at some point, and the Habs to determine where if he's worth paying a higher salary. Because for those who don't know, these 27, 28, 29-year-old stars in the AHL are not getting paid $75,000 a year. They get a lot more money. Some of them get $300,000, $400,000, $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a choice that a player makes. Like you play close to home. If you're Quebecois, you play close to home, you make $300,000, $400,000, or you go to Switzerland, or you go to the KHL. You might make more, you might make less. I don't know. I don't know all the salaries over there. But this is a decision at some point, because the reason why I'm talking about this is because there's a 50 contract limit. And once a batch of prospects contracts expire, you have to think of the next batch of prospects.
Yeah.
Because every year there's players graduating. The Habs are going to have players graduating. I give you an example. We talked about Logan Sawyer. Logan Sawyer still has eligibility remaining in the NCAA. I think he's going to go back to NCAA this year. But let's say that he wanted to sign, and the Habs wanted to sign him. Well, then he would be replacing someone. Yeah. So you have to make decisions when contracts expire. Want to move on to Owen Beck, or
I got a few players I want to talk about.
Well, let's go. Yeah, Owen Beck. Then
we can rifle through them. But
yeah. Well, Owen Beck, I think I still see a possible NHL future for this guy.
So do I.
I think he could be a pretty good fourth line center in the NHL.
Absolutely.
Because he's for the Rocket. Okay, maybe he doesn't light up the scoreboard, but his effort level is consistent. When he goes to Montreal, he doesn't play much. He just gets, a few minutes here and there with some fourth liners, but you can see that he can hold his own. Yeah. So I think Beck, deserves a chance to be a fourth liner. And if he can't in Montreal, because, Jake Evans is there for a few years and they don't trade him or whatever, then maybe Beck could become trade bait.
Yeah.
When they include a B-level prospect, just like, every team does usually when they usually take a draft pick and a B-level prospect against an NHLer. It could be what's going to happen with Owen Beck, but I see a guy who could play in the NHL.
So do I. A face-off specialist. He's always been good at that. It's always useful, of course, but again, it's everything else that he brings, right? He's not just a one-trick pony. He's good on the forecheck, physical, good shot. He'll never put up big points, but really he does everything else very well. Good pace, good skating. So again, yeah, I see a role for him in the NHL. I wouldn't be in a hurry to move him at all. Another player that I do see, another forward that I see a role in the NHL for, who I got to say it disappointed me a little bit this weekend, is Florian Jacki. I was really looking forward to seeing him in action in person, and I didn't really see much. Like, I saw flashes. I could see where it is. You know what? I see it, but it wasn't there all game, right? It's sometimes just a little too slow, a little too soft. He needs to be fast and hard, right? That's really what his game should be. Just crushing the opponent, crashing the net, being the nuisance that he can be. Once he figures that out, I think he'll have a role in the NHL.
Well, that's the thing. Fourth liners, usually they're going to play like 7, 8, 10, 11, 12 minutes a game max. And if you notice, whenever they get on the ice, they're like wrecking balls. They have no choice.
Exactly.
They have no choice because they know that there's a 13th and a 14th forward waiting for them. Because usually when a team loses, they're not going to bench. They're not going to bench the what you call it, the top 6 players.
No, that's it.
Usually. So usually you're going to see a rotation of fourth liners, basically. And every year, they're all playing for their jobs because most of them only have a 1-year contract. And so if Florian wants to make the NHL and have a long career, that's what he has to do. Because, yes, we know he can score goals, contrary to a lot of fourth liners. He has the talent to score goals. It's normal that he doesn't have as many goals this year as last year because I think you and I discussed it in a recent podcast. His shooting percentage was very high. It was not sustainable. So it's normal that he doesn't have as many goals. To carve himself a niche in the NHL, it has to be like a consistent effort. And there was something that one of our listeners suggested, and it was very interesting, and it's going to be a topic that we're going to have in the next few weeks. He was saying that most fourth liners usually were junior stars. Mm-hmm. And he wants us to take a look at the fourth lines in the NHL and see where these guys came from. Because usually when your fourth liners, when they were drafted, they were not drafted to be fourth liners. They become fourth liners because at some point, there's a stranglehold and, it's the best are not the best anymore. And, you go from 2,000 junior players to 700 NHL players. So obviously that's what happens. But Florian, it's true. Florian was not a top junior player. Mm-hmm. But not all of them are stars. But we're going to look into this and see if that's if that listener's perception is accurate.
I mean, Jake Evans was a 7th round pick, right? So there's exceptions to the rule, but that's going to be a really fun exercise.
Yeah,
stay tuned for that. Okay, we'll circle back on that in an upcoming show. Snake, I want to go to the defense now, real quick, okay? Because there's some players of interest here, but the one I want to start with is not the one I think you're thinking of. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about William Trudeau.
Okay,
because this is a player that has really impressed me this season. Okay, I'm not saying that he's got NHL potential. He's going to be a future defenseman for the Habs. However, I have loved what I've seen from him this year. Physical, strong, fast, good shot. I mean, he's doing everything he's being asked to do. Big fan of William Trudeau, but again, I don't know about the next step, right? If there is a spot for him down the line.
Well, it's going to be hard in Montreal. And I remember a couple of years ago, he was mentioned when the Habs defense was weaker. He was mentioned as a possible prospect, someone that sort of came out of nowhere, if you see my point. He was not like a top 60 pick. And some fans were thinking, maybe Trudeau, after the... But it never really happened. I don't even know if he was called up for one game. I don't think he was.
He hasn't gotten.
But he played some preseason games.
Yes.
But he wasn't called up for one game. I think Trudeau, again, this is the type of guy perhaps could be traded, but at his age now, it's going to be harder and harder to make the NHL because, for better or worse, you get labeled by NHL management teams. So perhaps Trudeau is seen as, okay, he's just another AHL defenseman. Now, if he is, again, he might have a choice to make. Where is he going to play? And I think an American Hockey League team needs guys like him.
Yeah.
Okay, we need guys like him because as he get older, imagine when he's like 26, 27, 28, if he's still around. It's so great to have this guy around, the newly drafted defensemen that are going to join the Rocket eventually.
This looks like a future captain of an AHL team.
Exactly. And then he could make this $400,000 or $500,000 a year that we're talking about, because otherwise he goes to Europe and he can make that money. So you have to recognize this. And every AHL team, I think, yes, I'm all for playing young guys. It's a development league, and not do like the Hershey Bears who trying to win year after year with 32-year-old guys. No, but you still need, I would say 3 guys like him.
I agree. No, he could be like a star AHLer.
Yeah.
I don't know what the future is in the NHL. However, it's a pretty big step. I don't know if he could take it, but again, I want to emphasize, how much I've enjoyed watching him play this season and this weekend. I thought he was fantastic. Now, the 2 guys that everybody wants to hear about, okay?
Yeah.
David Ryanbacker, Adam Angstrom were paired together. So made the viewing that much easier. You can just watch the 2.
Oh, yeah. It was interesting.
You can just watch the 2 play together and make some magic happen. It was entertaining. It was also a little concerning at times. There was a bunch of everything going on, Snake.
Yeah. Ryanbacker had some issues with the puck. Turnovers, especially at the beginning of the game. I was wondering, does he try to do too much? Is he because he's not skilled enough? You're trying to figure it out, what kind of player he's going to be, or he could be. It's funny because when he started out with the Rocket, I thought that Ryanbacker wasn't taking enough chances. I thought that is too safe. He was playing. It was too safe, and I was thinking, look, this guy has to show what he the type of skill level that he has, because he was a number 5 pick overall. Yeah, and you expect a lot from a number 5 pick overall. And now he's trying things, but sometimes he loses the puck. But I try to see, when I watch this guy, I try to project him in the NHL. What I see is a big guy, a good skater, good skater, uses his size. He's a good skater. He has a good stick. His level of awareness, I find, is good.
Yep.
But obviously, he's not going to be a big point producer. He's not a big point producer in Laval. He's not going to be a big point producer in the NHL, but the Habs don't need that. They have Hudson and Dobson already. Now, okay, but some might say, yeah, but he was a number 5 pick overall. Okay. I'm going to talk about a player who I don't think necessarily, I'm not saying he's the same type of player, but he's the type of guy that Ryanbacker could have the same impact as this guy. This guy was drafted 5th overall. He was a defenseman with size. He was not a big point producer, but some saw some offensive upside. Now he became a top 4 defenseman in the NHL. And I see that type of impact for Ryanbacker, although the guy I'm talking about, obviously, will never be in the Norris conversation, but he's good. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I might need one more hint, but you can just
He plays for Vegas.
Does he still play?
Yeah. He was drafted 5th overall 10 years ago.
10 years ago. That means 2016 or 2015?
2015 with McDavid.
Is it
Hannafin? McDavid draft. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the same type of player, But
That's
I'm
fair.
saying it's the same type of impact. Hanifin at first was seen as, why did they draft this guy fourth overall? I think it was fourth or fifth.
Somewhere around there. Yeah. I
Somewhere.
know he was touted as the best defenseman.
Maybe
of
number
that
three.
draft
Maybe
class.
number three,
Yeah.
because I think Mitch Marner was picked after him. Anyway, he was drafted very high. I think it was number 3. We can check on KDB.
I think it was Dylan Strome. I think it went McDavid, Eichel, Strome, and then Marner Hanifin, I believe. Something like that.
Yeah, something. Yeah, exactly. So it was number 5 also. And 2015 was quite the draft.
Oh, was it ever?
So it's very easy to say, okay, why did Carolina draft this guy? Knowing what was gonna the type of players that were drafted after him. Well, luckily, luckily for the Habs, 2023 was not 2015.
No, that's it. Not a great year.
There were some good players at the top of the draft with Connor Bedard and Leo Carlson and Will Smith. Yeah. But after Ryanbacker, look at the guys. No one is really established as a bona fide star. So there's no pressure on Ryanbacker in the sense that, let's say Simashev, who was drafted number 6 overall, let's say he was already a star in the NHL or an upcoming star. Oh, why didn't they take him? Look, Simashev started the year in Utah. That's the games that I saw him play. He was okay, but then they sent him back, to the American Hockey League for more seasoning. So there's no pressure really on Ryanbacker to become a star on defense, an offensive star on defense. But if he has the impact of a Hanifin, considering how the Habs defense is constructed right now, I think it's perfect.
I agree. That'd be good.
I think it's perfect.
That'd be really good.
Yeah. Of course, if there were no Hudson and Dobson, then one could wonder, okay, we still don't have that offensive defenseman, that elite defensive defenseman. Okay, the Habs have him. So I think, and size is important. And I think in the playoffs, like you say, uses his size, uses his body. I think in the playoffs, Ryanbacker at some point will be very, very important to the Habs. And also, one thing that I've always mentioned a couple times, I think Ryanbacker, once he plays with better teammates, I think his contribution might go up a notch.
That's fair. Yeah,
I think there are some players like that you feel that, okay, if they're better surrounded, they're going to look better. I don't know how to explain it, but this is something that I see in Ryanbacker, because sometimes I see him make plays and I'm thinking, okay, he anticipated something, but the guy he's passing the puck to didn't. In the NHL, they will. And this is something that Maxime Talbot was telling me. I was on a podcast with him last week, and Max Talbot was telling me that he was a better player in the NHL than in the American Hockey League.
We see a lot of those.
And because he thought that because he was a star junior player in Gatineau, and then he comes up to the AHL, and sometimes he said, I would make moves, and some guy was a step behind or didn't anticipate what I was going to do. And then when he got to the NHL, obviously Maxime was not a star in the NHL, but you know what I mean. He was able to have a good career, and he felt that his skill level was better utilized in the NHL. So I think this is something I see for Ryanbacker.
And I think he was drafted, maybe not with the idea of being Lane Hutson's defensive partner, but maybe as a possibility. It's like, you know what? If Lane pans out, which at that point, his upside was really high, but we didn't know, right? If he pans out, he's going to need a guy like Ryanbacker on his right to complement him. I think that's still the case today. I think really, if we haven't seen those two together yet, but once we do, we'll have a better idea. I think that'll be where he finds his niche, his chair within the team, and has that sort of impact. I like a Noah Hanifin type of thing, maybe reduced to a certain extent, less offensive. Doesn't really have hands. He's not a great puck handler.
No,
but he's got a solid shot. I mean, he could get fed by Lane Hutson and get a few goals. So I'm really not overly worried with Ryanbacker. He didn't have a great weekend, but again, it's a long season. So
yeah, he made mistakes, but there are some things that he showed compared with other American hockey players that you can tell, okay, this is an NHL player.
Exactly.
The way he pivots, the way some of his decision making, when he carries the puck and stuff. But yeah, he's not a great puck handler, so he's going to make mistakes. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about his partner
on
Laval now, Adam Angstrom?
Man.
Adam Angstrom. Now that guy's a puck handler. My goodness, he can carry the puck like few can. But is he an NHL caliber defenseman, Snake?
Well, one thing is sure, he's outgrowing the AHL right now.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that you can tell that he can't stay there for long before being considered a guy who's wasting his time, basically.
Yeah.
Now, what we signed the NHL, I think he was fine. Mm-hmm. He's not afraid. He has he's gutsy. He's a gutsy player.
Yeah, not afraid. Exactly.
Yeah, he can be gritty. He can carry the puck. Now it's a matter of basically gaining experience. I think this is the type of guy that as he plays in the NHL, he will gain experience and become better and better. Considering, again, the way the Habs roster is built right now, I think probably more of a third pairing guy, but not a third pairing guy that you're going to be hiding. Because very often teams are hiding the third pairing. Mm-hmm. They look for matchups, where they're going to face the fourth line and everything. I think Angstrom, you just put him as part of a rotation, and it's good because you don't necessarily want your first pairing guys to always need to play 28 minutes a game. Some do in the NHL because they have no choice. But I think the Habs, if you reduce the time on ice by 2-3 minutes of your top guys and giving it to a guy like Angstrom, you get a team that is more rested come playoff time.
Exactly.
Obviously, I love seeing Quinn Hughes on the ice for 20 minutes a game as a spectator. But if I were at the time a Canucks fan or now a Wild fan, I would be thinking, okay. But then you look at the number 5, number 6 defensemen that these teams have, and you're thinking, yeah, okay, I get it why they play Quinn Hughes 28 minutes a game. But if you have a guy like Angstrom, you don't need to play Dobson and Hudson so much.
No, exactly.
That's my take on Angstrom. I've been he kind of surprised me. Well, not surprised me, but I would say I thought that for a third round pick. Mm-hmm. By the time he was drafted, I felt, okay, this is a third round pick who has a chance. The same way I said about Atos Koivu, I don't see it. I'm comparing, third round picks with third round picks. When I saw Angstrom, I was thinking, yeah, maybe. He's a maybe.
It's going to be tough because the decor is just loaded. And we have a guy like Bryce Pickford who's doing crazy things in the WHL. So just adding to that depth.
But how about Angstrom and Pickford on a third pairing one day?
Listen, I don't think anybody would be mad at that, right? But then you have guys like Mike Matheson who just re-signed. What about Alex Carrier? He's doing well recently. What about Caden Gooley, right? So it's like there's just too many bodies, which again is a great problem to have. But Kent Hughes is going to have to make some decisions at one point.
Yeah, and at some point there's natural attrition with prospects also.
That's fair.
You start. Remember, we were talking about Josh Brook, Matthias Norlinder. They were considered part of the Habs' future. So I think at some point these things get taken care of by themselves. But the more you have, the better your stance when you're trying to make a trade, because everybody's looking for young defensemen.
This is Snake. This is the perfect transition to our next topic here because we're going to tackle trades.
I didn't do it on purpose, by the way.
Show. You're fantastic. Okay, that was great. We're going to tackle trades for the rest of the show. Okay, for most of the rest of the show, because Rasmus Andersson, a defenseman, was traded. Finally, I mean, we've been hearing his name for like 2 years now, but he was finally moved to the Vegas Golden Knights. Of course, they get him. But they get him in exchange for Zach Whitecloud, another defenseman, prospect Abram Waibe, a conditional 2027 first-round pick, and a conditional 2028 second-round pick. So a pretty big haul. Now, let me ask you from Calgary's standpoint, right? Because, again, we're talking about potentially trading defensemen here. Calgary traded probably their best. Did they get enough? Is the timing right? Did they do well here?
Look, yeah, Andersson has been on the in the trading rumors cycle for a couple of years. His name was even mentioned for the Habs.
Yeah, I remember.
Before they got Noah Dobson. And before also Lane Hudson became Lane Hudson. So the talks have died down in terms of rumors for the Habs. But on Calgary's point of view, right now, this is a team, obviously they're not going to admit it, but they're most probably rebuilding. And they're hoping to win a lottery or two and, do like the Sharks and the Hawks and get a Celebrini or a Bedard or that type of player. But you also need to accumulate other assets. And next to a top 5 pick is a first-round pick, albeit a late one. Now, do you always hit on these guys? No. The Blackhawks had quite a few of these. The Sharks also. And we'll see if they hit on all these guys. I doubt it. But the more darts you have, the better it is. So it always looks good when you get a first rounder, top 10 protected, I think. So that's
yes.
That's pretty much a gimme, unless something happens to Vegas. And the 2028 pick is conditional to Vegas winning the Stanley Cup, which means that if Vegas wins the Stanley Cup in the next 3 years, the second round pick becomes a first round pick. So, what are the chances? I think there's a chance, but it's very random when you think about it.
Yeah.
Which means that Calgary has the 26th first round pick from Vegas that they acquired in another trade. And they have the 27 pick and maybe the 2028 pick. But they're all going to be late picks.
That's true.
Yeah. So you get, let's say, 2 guys, okay, 26, 27. You get 2 guys. You're hoping to hit on one of the 2. And when I say hit, I don't mean David Pasternak. I mean more like a Fraser Minton, let's say. Like Fraser Minton in Boston, okay, a good player, good middle of the lineup player. That's what you're hoping for. So it makes for it looks like a big haul when you look at it, but once you've chosen those players, and these players start showing that they're not going to pan out, you go back on the trade and you're thinking, oh my God, they just gave him away.
Yeah.
But what was the other option? Rasmus Andersson is on the older side, if I may say, as an NHL player. He wasn't probably going to re-sign with Calgary. And even if Calgary had offered him lots of money to stay for another 5 years,
doesn't make sense.
Calgary's going nowhere. Doesn't make sense. So what you're hoping for when you do a trade like this is that and that's what they did. They didn't only get futures. They got Zach Whitecloud, who was a fixture on the Golden Knights blue line, not a spectacular player, but a fixture. So they get a guy who can replace him, and then you buy these lottery tickets. So that's my take on Calgary's side. As for Vegas, Rasmussen, I like him. But I think in the last couple of years, he's lost a little bit of his defensive abilities.
Yeah.
But then again, was it because he was playing for Calgary?
Could be.
We'll
find out
basically, Vegas is trying to replace Peter Angelo, who's probably not going to play this year, might never play again. They're trying to replace Peter Angelo. Look, Vegas keeps mortgaging the future. And interesting fact, they only have one first-round pick that is still in their organization.
Trevor Connelly.
Yeah, since 2017.
Crazy.
The most famous being part of probably one of their worst trades was
Nick Suzuki.
Nick Suzuki. Yeah. That was one of their worst trades because although Pelletier was useful, come on. I mean, but look, they traded so many prospects who didn't pan out that it's not a big deal. You know, they traded Erik Brandstrom to get Mark Stone.
That was great.
Pierre Dorion at the time thought that he was so happy with this trade. he probably almost thought that, you know, he was a steal. And look at where Brandstrom is.
And look at where Stone is, yeah.
Yeah, look at where Stone is. So I think Vegas overall, they did well, which is always the question, should teams always do that? Well, there's one nuance, is that these guys, often they re-sign with Vegas.
Yeah, it's enticing.
Most other teams who trade for these first round picks for veteran players, rental players that they call, they don't resign.
Mm-hmm.
So Anderson, I think Sportsnet mentioned that Boston was in the running for Anderson, but he didn't want to sign an extension. So they said, okay, forget it. Vegas, we're taking a chance. Yeah, okay, we're taking a chance, but, you know, 4 times out of 5, the guy's going to resign.
Yeah.
You know, so Jack Eichel stayed. I mean, Mark Stone stayed. They all stayed. Well, maybe not all of them. We would have to do a little research, but most of them stayed. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a particular situation that, in the sense that this team is very popular. It's a popular destination for players. So yeah, I do understand that what they do is feasible. It could work. But if you don't re-sign any of the players, at some point, you don't have the player, you don't have your first round pick, you have nothing left. And, you know, you could become like what the Toronto Maple Leafs are becoming.
That's why it's risky. It's risky. So now we shift over back to the Habs, okay? Because there are 2 key points or dates, if you will, in regards to trades coming up. So there's the Olympic roster freeze. And we saw at the holiday freeze, there was a few trades, including Philippe Danault to the Habs. So the Olympic roster freeze, we might see more trades there. And then obviously the trade deadline in March. Now, those 2 dates, right, are going to be important for Kent Hughes to figure out, okay, am I content with this team? Do I want to improve? There's a lot of decisions that can be made here. And Snake, I mean, this is a key turning point for a rebuilding team. And a lot of rebuilding teams have screwed up at this point. They went all in too early, or they gave up on their process too early, right? Yeah. In your opinion, looking at where the Habs are now, what they have, and what the market is, because let's not forget, there are more buyers than there are sellers. Which
this year, whereas I think last year was the other way around. Yeah,
precisely. So timing is very important, right?
Yeah.
Since there's more buyers than sellers, the premium players will come at a higher cost. So all of that considered, right? How should Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton tackle the Olympic roster freeze and the trade deadline?
Well, the name that is always mentioned, the very popular name, is Kiefer Sherwood from Vancouver. Yeah. Because he has a very, very reasonable contract that any team can take on, and he has that kind of
yeah,
aura, you know, that, okay, he's not Sam Bennett, but you know what I mean. He's scoring goals this year, and he's a tough guy. And now the question is, with a guy like this, when do you try and strike? You know, Vegas did it yesterday. It's very early in the process. Will prices soar or go down as the trade deadline approaches? Because, like you say, there's more deadlines this year.
Exactly.
Pre-Olympic, post-Olympic, trade deadline. So Kent Hughes must decide if he pulls the trigger on something, whatever it is. is he going to wait till 2:30 p.m. on trade deadline day, or is he going to pull the trigger before the Olympics or right after the Olympics when the market has not really been established? Although I think yesterday we got an idea for that, but I don't think the Habs would necessarily be looking for a Rasmus Andersson type of player. Would probably more like a third, fourth liner. But look, again, we talked about this last week for the Habs. And right now, everybody's wondering, what are they going to do when all the injured players come back? Do we send one of them to Laval? Do we trade one of them? Do we put some of them on waivers? Because you can't keep them all in Montreal unless there's more injuries. So are the Habs satisfied with what they have and go through another playoff run with what they have right now and say, this is not the year. We have a good chance of making the playoffs. We don't need to jeopardize the future. And especially we don't want to disturb the chemistry right now. Because remember, they're not short on players. Some teams are short on players right now. The Habs are not short on players once all the injured players come back. So if you have like 15, 16 forwards, do you add a 17 forward? But if the guy is better than your 8 or 9 forward right now, is it worth pulling the trigger? Maybe, maybe not. Do you try to get a top 6 player? But if you try to get a top 6 player, then you're going to pay unless, and Kent Hughes usually doesn't trade for older players. So you would probably want to trade for a 23, 24, 25-year-old player like he's done so far.
Yeah.
To be honest, there were years like last year, 2 years ago, I knew the Habs weren't going to do anything. This year, I have no clue.
It's hard to tell, eh?
It's very hard to tell because they're not close to the cup, but they are still a team that is on its way to being in the playoffs for the second year in a row. Exactly. And you're probably hoping to win one round, get one round further. And, it's a possibility.
And from Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton's perspective as well, you have to think about what the players are wanting. Do they want, like last year, to keep the group intact? I mean, Nick Suzuki went up to Kent Hughes and said, do not trade anyone. All right. What do they want this year? Do they want a little boost? Do they think, okay, with one more player, I think we can go far? Like that's why it's really hard to manage. And then again, you also have to think about the futures. Since your cup window hasn't really opened yet, well, you don't want to kind of, blow your load too early, right? Like you want to hold on to those futures, to those entry-level contracts who will bring you far and keep you cap compliant. So it's a dichotomy. It's really hard to manage. I wouldn't want to be in Kent Hughes' shoes right now trying to manage that. But at the same time, if you have an opportunity, and I know the name has been really popular because apparently he's available, which I doubt he is, but Robert Thomas, okay, for the sake of argument.
That's a different story. Yeah.
Because he's 26 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he fits in that age range. He's the same age as Suzuki. All right. He is a bona fide like first line center, and you'd be playing on your second line, right? But how much would he cost? This is where the futures come into play. Like, of course, St. Louis would ask for like Michael Hage or something. Mm-hmm. You can't give that up. So,
well, for Robert Thomas, I would think twice because he's under contract for many, many years at what is becoming more and more a reasonable price. Mm-hmm. With Thomas and Suzuki, the discussion about top 6 centermen in Montreal would pretty much be done for years, at least 5 years. At least 5 years, it's settled. And then you can add, Hage either on the wing or as a super third line center, and Zarovsky's coming. So, but like you say, if you're gonna get Thomas, you're not keeping Hage, Zarovsky.
They're asking for an A-level prospect right off
one of the two.
Off the bat.
One of the two. To be honest, if I had to give one of the two for Thomas, let's say I have to give Hage or Zorowski, I have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
I would be more reluctant to give Zorowski. Zorowski, I think, will be a star.
Interesting.
I see Zorowski becoming the second or third, I would say, best forward on the team eventually.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, eventually. Okay. Obviously not next year, but eventually. So Zorowski, to me, it's amazing what he's been doing. We were talking about, Demidov last year in the KHL, and we were talking about Mishkov a couple of years ago. And, there's always like some KHL players that 18, 19-year-old KHL players that we talk about as future stars. And usually when they're drafted very high, there's a narrative, well, the guy was drafted. Zorowski, since he was drafted early second round, well, he was a second round draft pick. You know what? I don't care. I don't care.
He should have been picked top 5. That's the thing.
Well, right now, to me, he's back. Look, I had him 17th, and I regret it because I'm thinking right now he's probably between 5 and 10.
Yeah.
If not between 5 and 10. And this is not a guy you went back to junior hockey to dominate, because sometimes when they go back to junior hockey, you're thinking, well, okay, he gets 120 points, but he's an 18-year-old junior player. No, the guy's playing in the KHL, and young players usually don't get a lot of ice time. And when you watch him play, you see qualities, skills that are translatable to the NHL, which is very important, especially in those European leagues. So, because many times I watch European players and I'm thinking, okay, this is not going to work in the NHL. This guy, it's going to work. So that's my take on this. You can't. I don't know why St. Louis would make Robert Thomas available.
Doesn't make sense.
But that's one example of a guy who I think, yeah, you can give up a prospect for a guy like that, but you don't give up a top prospect for a 30-year-old guy with, let's say, 2 years left on his contract just to try and win one round, which wouldn't even be a guarantee. So that's how I see it. And as for trading the first round pick this year, we don't know where it's going to land, but it would have to be for a solid player. Yeah, I wouldn't just trade the first round pick the way some teams will, or some teams already have.
They hand that out like it's nothing.
They just hand that out, and I get it. Most don't pan out. I do get it, because in retrospect, you look at these trade deadline deals 5-6 years later, and you're thinking, okay, they got this. They gave up a number 1 pick who did nothing. They gave up a prospect who did nothing. Okay, but before trade deadline, these picks seem to have a lot of value. Yeah. Even in my book, I don't like trading away first round picks, but I do realize
some of them do pan out, though. That's the thing. So,
exactly, some of them do. Some of them do. So Michael Hage was a 21 overall pick, 21st overall. So 21st overall. If he pans out, you're thinking, what if the Habs had traded that pick? They wouldn't have him. True. Mm-hmm. So it's not that easy, to just throw names and strategies like this. And like you said, the Habs are in a position right now where they're kind of in between. They're in between the rebuild and the start of serious contention. Mm-hmm. And I think I do think serious contentions will be coming. It will be coming.
I've been saying in 2 years, 27, 28, that's when it starts. Because I mean, you look at the cap structure, like the team is going to have around 40 to 50 million. Now, that's not considering they're going to sign Demidov and all that, but they're going to have a lot of wiggle room to maneuver and build an actual contending roster. That's why I think 2 more years or, a year and a half from now, let's just say. But yeah, right now, this is a point in time where a lot of other rebuilding teams have completely screwed up their rebuild. Too fast by going in for it too early. So again, this is a critical juncture
You don't want to become Ottawa.
Habs.
You don't want to become Ottawa.
No.
And I don't know if we have Ottawa fans listening to us, but I have to say that as a fan of rebuilds, I'm kind of disappointed because I think they were on the right track. Now I think, that ship has sailed, unfortunately.
Yeah, no bueno. Well, look, we'll hand it over now to the viewers who could chime in the comments section. Let us know your philosophy for the trade deadline for the Montreal Canadiens. What would you do? How would you approach it? Would you be comfortable trading it first? Would you be comfortable trading a big prospect to get better now, or hold off and be patient? Let us know. Now, before we get to the mailbag, Snake, of course, it's my opportunity to tell everybody about our great partners here at the Sick Podcast. And I want to start off with a big thank you to our friends at Cheapest T-Shirts. Folks, if you're looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, you will find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. They're proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast. They deliver unbeatable value every day. You'll always get the cheapest prices, plus same-day shipping and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. They have over 1,000 products and more than 36 trusted brands like Gildan, Jerseys, American Apparel, M&O, and Comfort Colors. The selection is unmatched. Plus, you can enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. And of course, don't select the bust with Betway and get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. You can scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario, and you must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. And with that, it is time to go digging in the mailbag. Our first question today comes from QC Nachos, asking a question for Simon. How do you think about speed versus IQ and other skills? Let's take the examples of Kucherov or Demidov. They're good skaters, but not blazing fast. I'm wondering whether they would be really better if they were faster. Sometimes people look at Michael McLeod or players like Michael Grabner when they were prospects and over-evaluate them because they were faster than 99% of other players. On the other hand, sometimes you have players that have the whole package but can't skate, kind of like a Mark Stone. I think Martin St. Louis spoke about the speed of the game and that faster isn't always better. Scout, what's your opinion on that?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question in the sense that I think when we try and analyze speed versus IQ and other skills, we're always taking exceptions to the rule. Or we're going to take extreme cases. Mark Stone, most players who skate like Mark Stone don't make it.
No, no.
Michael McLeod is a tremendous skater. I remember his draft year, he was compared to McDavid in terms of skating, not obviously the rest, but in terms of skating. And one would have thought, including myself, that he would have been a better NHL player. But there are most of the fast skaters, I would say, it's preferable to be a fast skater to a slow skater, I would say.
Always.
But if you're looking at what I consider, let's say, an average or slightly above average skater, then the rest is more important, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I don't know if I'm making it clear, but there are some very slow and very fast skaters. But in between, you have NHL skaters in the sense that NHL level skating, which is not necessarily something that you will notice either way. I mean, look at all the players. Can you say that? I don't know. Let's take some Habs players. What do you think of Cole Caulfield skating?
Good. I think he stays well. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he a Michael McLeod? No. But he's good. So you don't really notice it. So most guys, you don't notice it. I think when we get into the conversation, we take these extreme cases or these superstars, like Kucherov, who has 125 points, and we're thinking, well, he's not the best skater, but he gets 125 says, okay, let's look at the average. So I would say that for a long story short, I would say that for a guy who has an NHL skating level, IQ and other skills are more important.
Yeah, because it's the speed of the game, the way how fast you can think and anticipate, and that also I'm in the same boat.
If I have to choose between Mark Stone, age 17, and Michael McLeod, age 17,
then
that's harder.
Yeah.
Because then you have to project, is McLeod going to be a scorer or not? And is Stone skating going to be good enough or not to make the NHL? So that's much harder to evaluate. But for the average skater, I would say, or a guy who's skating, you don't notice, IQ and other skills are way more important. Fast skaters, case-by-case basis. Slow skater, case-by-case basis.
Yeah, there's not one clear-cut answer for this, but it's a really good question, though. I really appreciate
it's excellent. It's
absolutely.
Excellent. Yeah.
And we have a second question today. This one coming from Lou Mark, asking, I know Trevor Connelly was hurt early in the World Junior preliminary game and did not make the roster. Since then, I have zero news on his status. Does the Snake have any info for us?
Well, you know how much I love Trevor Connelly. Yeah. So that's why I thought I would answer the question, although I don't have an answer for the question. I did a lot of research this morning about it. If he's going to be back in the American Hockey League with Henderson soon, there is absolutely nothing. One thing we know is that when he was injured, it was considered a long-term thing, like probably at least a month or two.
Yeah. So
it didn't look good. It didn't look good because they totally ruled him out of the WJC. And then I was looking, I was looking at the rosters. I really looked. I really went through every Twitter account that could mention it. There is nothing. I just stopped short of emailing the PR guy, and so I'm waiting for him to come back to the Silver Knights because I love this guy. But
special talent.
I don't like the fact that he's often injured.
It's a little concerning.
And goalie, so I have to be fair. Trevor Connelly, if I'm concerned about Caden Gooley's injuries, I have to be concerned about Trevor Connelly's injuries because he's young to be constantly injured.
Right.
An injured player, as good as he is not an asset for your team.
Availability is your best ability. So
Nick Suzuki is going to break Phil Kessel's record.
The Iron Man.
I tell you. Wow. I don't know why. Ever since I followed, you're too young for this, but ever since I followed Cal Ripken's streak, you know who Cal Ripken is? He has baseball? The longest streak. Yeah, in baseball, he has the longest streak ever. He beat Lou Gehrig's record. I think he played over 2,600 games. Look, he basically played for 15 years in a row.
That's crazy.
And hockey, considering the high risk of injury, I mean, what Kessel has done is
on a questionable diet, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I don't know. I think Suzuki's kind of made of rubber, so I feel that he has a chance to beat that record. I wish he does because for some reason I love these records.
It's good. I mean, look, it's also a great, I guess, barometer or indicator of the player itself. I mean, Phil Kessel, look, you look at him and you maybe not a good example. He's not exactly an ideal physical specimen in that sense where, wow, he's taking great care of himself. He's in great shape. He's eating well. He's lifting weights. Not really. He just knew how to play, right? And sure, there's a luck factor involved.
Yeah.
But he knew how to play, right? He knew how to absorb contact. He knew how to avoid contact. That's also the case for Nick Suzuki, I think. Suzuki's in better shape, however, so that may be helping him. But that's fun to keep track of, absolutely.
But one thing is sure, if Suzuki ever beats that record, I'm sure he's going to have stories to tell about how he came close to missing a game.
This year?
Yeah, exactly. Because you can be ill. I mean, what if you have what's happening in Chicago right now, gastro?
Ooh, stomach.
You know, Lev Shunov, he played a 5-minute 33-second shift this weekend, the second longest shift in the history of the NHL.
That's crazy.
Because they were running out of players. But if the listeners are interested in knowing the Cal Ripken story, you can Google his name, and he has stories to tell about how he came close to missing games.
Yeah,
small broken bone, or the flu, or you get hit by a ball in the face, or whatever. So anyway, we'll follow Suzuki. It'll be a few years before he beats the record, but every year I think about it. I'm thinking, okay, maybe in 2000, whatever, 30 something. What is he at now? 400 games, 500 games?
I think he passed 5. I'm not sure actually.
He's never missed a game.
5.
He's never missed a game. So look, I'm before we go, I'm going to Google it because I need to see it. 504 games in a row. He has not missed one game. So another 6.5 seasons, and he's got the record.
He could do it. He could do it. And look, there's ways to go around it as well. I mean, you listen, you get the bug, right? You're hugging the toilet. Well, listen, you suit up for one shift and it counts as a game. So
Look, Gordie Howe did it at age 69.
What?
Yeah, in the International Hockey League, because he wanted to play to beat his record of the number of decades in a row that he had played in, because he played in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. But he said, okay, let's try the 90s now. Yeah. He played one shift. And he gave a body check. Go look at it on YouTube. He was 69 years old.
We're never seeing that again. That's for sure.
No.
What a way to end the show, Snake. This will be it for us. Anything else to add before we get out of here?
No, lots of fun. Lots of things to talk about on Thursday also.
Absolutely. And let me tease that real quick, because we asked you to send in recommendations in the chat, okay? Topics, questions, all that. We might use a few in Thursday's show. We're not teasing which ones, but if you sent in a recommendation, tune in Thursday because we might be using yours, and keep sending them, by the way, okay? It's not limited to just one show. Every single show you can get in the comment section, ask your questions for the mailbag, send in topic recommendations. We might just spend a whole show on it. We've done it before, okay? If you have great ideas, and you do, we want to hear them. So that'll do it for us today. But again, we'll be back on Thursday. So for Simon the Snake Boisvert, I'm producer Shayne. Thank you to producer Jimmy back at Master Control. This has been another edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. We'll see you Thursday.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.